Hello, welcome to our show.
We're your hosts. My name is Marissa.
My name is Brinden.
And this is
We at the table.
Today we have for you some special guests from Tower 80, two of their members, Kevin and Jack, for you to play today, Paycheck.
All right.
Oh, I've known you for far too long for you to do this to me again. And now we wake up without our alarms, 'cause we're much older than we've ever been. I've got this paycheck, this tiny paycheck. It's gonna last us a day or two at most. And my best friend, I miss my best friend. Oh, he's in a better place, I know, yeah. I've got this paycheck, this tiny paycheck. It's gonna last us a day or two at most. I've got this paycheck, this tiny paycheck. It's gonna last us a day or two at most, yeah. Been rolling off this paycheck, which is soon to be gone. How can this go on? Have I done wrong, yeah? Life was just as simple as it was once before, yeah. I don't think I'd be able to think anymore.
Well, all right. We are back, and now today we have for you Tower 80 here to sit and answer a few questions. So to start off, I want to know that song was called Paycheck, and I kind of want to know a little bit more about it because I can relate to paychecks. I love getting them, and I connected with that song. So where did that come from?
Well, pretty much it's just like a collage of all the like problems of like this age, I guess, as a college student or just a 20-year-old. It's like a collage of being broke, a collage of like transitioning into adulthood from like young adulthood, and that's pretty much it. And then we also mention like one of our best friends who passed away. So we have like some like mourning and grief in there as well. So it's just like a collage of everything.
Of all like the emotions of just kind of like the time that we're living in right now, you know? It's just like a very present song. That's why we have that soft approach to it as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm really glad that y'all could get together in that kind of way. So I just wanted to know how y'all met and were able to have such a good vibe together as you play. Like, tell me about it.
Well, actually, I met this guy back in like middle school. He was always my little brother's best friend growing up. So I always saw him as like a little brother to me. But yeah, we grew up playing music, always like doing different things. I was in the church. He always had his guitar at school with him. And then once we all graduated, we started this band called Los Muchachos.
Oh.
That's where it actually originally like the chemistry started. Me on drums, him playing guitar and singing, my little brother as well. And then that band happened, went away, and then time happened. This is his project that he started, Jack. He's done a good job, writing. But just spending time together, growing up, really.
Yeah.
So y'all have had a few bands, in the span of your artistic careers.
Yeah.
Y'all, this isn't y'all first band.
Right, we've been pretty much just growing and like maturing musically and artistically together for pretty much as long as like the process has been taking place, So that's why we have probably like such good chemistry and like we can just like pretty much sit down whenever and just like
Yeah, because
create, I guess,
Yeah, because I've been saying for a while, every time I've heard y'all perform thus far, it feels like y'all transform a room. Like y'all energy is just so kinetic. Like the moment you walk in and hear y'all playing, it's like, oh, I can sit back in my chair, I can kick my feet up. It's just so soothing and very, very comforting. I really enjoy listening to it, especially at the end of a long week. I definitely feel like Tower 80 is what I would want to hear, you know?
So where'd you get the name from then, since it's your
Tower 80.
project? Yeah.
Well, this project was originally called The Openers, but there was another band called The Openers. So there's this building in Highland Square. That's in Akron, Ohio. That's where we're from.
Okay.
And Highland Square is like the big art place there. And my grandpa lived in it, so just like kind of like respect for him. And then also a lot of Akron people know the building, Tower 80. So, you know, it's just like, we love Akron, so we just like to represent it. And
Yeah.
Showing love to the
Tower 80.
city. Showing love to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have y'all performed at Tower 80 before?
No, it's just like a residential building.
What?
Yeah,
They need
so-
to know.
Yeah, they do.
Because y'all are
Yeah,
up and
it's not a
coming.
bad idea, yeah.
But, well, yeah. So we appreciate you coming out. Can you let people know where they can find you and what's next?
We got like an Instagram page. You can just look up Tower 80. We got a Facebook page. That's under The Openers Music, so
Actually,
don't know how to change it.
fun fact for you, Jack. We just got a new Facebook page up with the name Tower 80. So
What?
I'm very happy about that.
Okay,
In case you didn't know,
nice. So I guess just look up Tower 80 on
Instagram,
Instagram.
Facebook.
And if you want to listen to our music, you have to look up The Openers on YouTube.
The
That's about
Openers.
it. But hopefully, I mean, we're gonna start recording and get our music out there. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll be sure to check y'all out.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for
Thank
coming
you.
out for us, and y'all have a wonderful day. Please go ahead and find them on social medias, the one that they just said, and
Yes.
y'all have a wonderful day.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Hi, my name is Darius Jones Bentley. We're here in the Union, and we're about to answer some ethical questions. Come on, let's go. Should we clone humans?
I think that it would be fascinating. I don't know if we should.
I don't want an identical person to myself. I want
not
unique.
yourself.
We don't have enough resources from the amount of people we have currently. Having more of a population would be a bad thing, and more people would be starving on the streets.
No, not at all. I don't think so.
And why do you guys all agree that we should not clone humans?
It's inhumane.
It's inhumane?
It should only be one.
Exactly.
Yeah, you only have one life.
You only have one life? Okay.
I don't think we should. I think that, to me, God's creation is God's creation, and that shouldn't be something that we take into our own hands.
Should we clone humans?
I think it'd be cool.
You think it'd be cool? Why do you think that?
I'd love to have a clone of me to like have as a friend or something. Somebody that
Have
understands
as a
you.
friend, okay.
It'll make more jobs, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's an advancement of technology.
I think there would be a lot of issues surrounding swapping and the clones initiating themselves in their clones' lives.
You tell
which
me
would
you
be
wouldn't want to
gross.
clone for class?
I'm telling you that I could handle that all on my own. I don't need a
Independent
clone.
woman, yes. Who's your best friend right now?
My best friend, I would have to say, is my cousin Drew.
Your cousin Drew?
Yep.
Okay, let's say he finds the perfect woman in his life. He's gonna marry this girl. And you just found out the night before that she cheated on him with another man. And it's 1 hour before the wedding. What do? Do you tell him? Or do you let him go on with the wedding?
I think as his best friend, I think that's my duty to look out for his best well-being. I think that I would have to tell him, make sure that he knows, and then from there, it's his decision to make what he thinks that he should do.
Your best friend found the perfect man. Now, you just found out that the night before, he just cheated on her with another woman. Now, it's an hour before the wedding. Do you tell her, or do you let her get married?
Oh, I'm telling her.
You're telling? Tell her?
tell her.
You gotta tell her. Why do you have to tell her?
Because
it's your best friend.
Yeah, if I only
I knew he was gonna answer that. I knew he was gonna say that.
I think I have to tell her.
You have to tell her?
I have to tell her.
You have to tell her?
Yeah, I'm not gonna let her, you know, marry someone if the marriage is shambles. If it's not real. You know what I mean?
That's a good answer.
What's it? The clone.
No.
I would 100% tell her.
100% tell her? Jennifer knows her parents won't let her go to the big party if they find out that the host parents are out of town. Should she lie about it and go anyway? Or should she tell her parents the truth?
She should just tell the truth, man. It's only right.
It's only right to tell the truth?
It's only right. she should tell the truth. Always tell the truth.
Are you a parent? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe so.
Lie about it and
I
go.
said
She should tell the truth.
Ooh,
I
okay.
say lie about it and go. Like, let's just have a good time.
Live your
sorry.
best life.
Really odd. You're
Live your best life.
Live your best
No.
life. Why should you tell the truth?
What if something happened?
Ooh, that is a good one. What if something
What
happens?
if she get killed?
What if she get
Killed.
Oh, wow, that's really dark and deep.
Who's Jennifer?
Is it some random
come from?
It's some random girl.
Okay. I would say in that situation, it's best to tell the truth.
Best to tell the truth. Did you tell your parents the truth about everything?
No.
You never lied to your parents?
Oh yeah, I lied to my parents.
Okay, fine. I don't know if it's answers are valid now. There's no point. There's no point to the answers.
I think she should probably ask her parents because that is the right thing to do. Make sure everybody knows accountability. They know where she's at.
Okay.
I would lie and just go. I wouldn't tell my parents.
He would lie, but Jennifer, don't you lie.
I agree.
She should lie about it and go.
Ooh.
It's times. Good party.
It's time. Good party. Okay.
Yeah.
There's 3 people you don't lie to, and one of them's mom. You don't lie to mom, you don't lie to your doctor, and you don't lie to your attorney. How can they help you?
You don't lie to none of them. I need more people to ask ethical questions.
All right. So here is our discussion that we are very excited to have with you. Today's topic is ethics, and today we have with you our ethics professor, Dr. Lebo.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. And we also have our lovely friend Grant here with us.
How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Can't complain.
Good to see you guys.
Yes. And so we wanted to get to know them a little more, so we have a question for them. I wanted to start off with asking you, Grant, what is your favorite music?
I'm into a lot of music. I work at the radio station, so I'm around a lot, but I listen to rock, blues, soul, rap, punk, funk, a lot.
What's funk? Oh, I know funk.
What's funk?
I know funk.
You know what funk is.
Punk and funk. I didn't realize they went so well with each other. Okay. What's the name of your radio show?
I'm on WBWC 88.3 FM. The Sting, it's our Baldwin Wallace station.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to check you out. All right.
And for Dr. Lebo, since you're our ethics professor, we just wanted to know what ethics meant to you, just as a person.
Sure. Well, I think it's very culturally dependent at some level because different ethical questions may be resolved differently depending upon where you're from. I do think, though, that there's a core of ethical base that probably transcends all cultures, throughout the world. I oftentimes talk with students about the notion of universal truth. Does that really exist? And one of the conversations that we get into is whether or not, if one were to say move to a different country, would one have a different view on things like genocide or torture or some of these kinds of questions. But when we begin to look at how many countries have actually signed up to these conventions and how many people around the world at least give lip service to these truths, I would say that there is a common core of beliefs that kind of transcends all nations, all peoples. It's really at the margins where we can begin to see different cultures with different points of view.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. I definitely think that is that gives a lot of food for thought about, where are your viewpoints. I do think that everyone has a different set of viewpoints, and it's surprising because I don't know if everyone is aware of the person next to them having similar yet different views of ethics. So I think we should probably do a little bit of an experiment where we do a few hypotheticals to see where everyone lives on the spectrum of what is right and what is wrong. So to start off, I believe, do you have a hypothetical for us?
Sure, and I should preface this by saying that I'm also an attorney and being a professor as well.
Okay.
And so the way that the law might resolve something is perhaps very different from the way that our hearts tell us the question should be resolved. So one of the fact patterns that's oftentimes given in law schools, which is an interesting one typically in the criminal law setting, is imagine that 2 people are standing at the top of a building and they're having a terrible altercation. Imagine it's a skyscraper. And you're observing this conversation transpire and it gets more and more heated. And finally, one person shoves the other off of the top of the building quite on purpose, clearly meaning to kill that person. Well, as they are plummeting towards their pretty eventual death, the obvious death, someone from a different building sees this person falling, and this is a person they've always had a grudge against, so they feel like this is their perfect opportunity to take their revenge. So they pull out a weapon and they shoot this person on the way down, killing them before they actually strike the ground. The question then becomes, who's actually responsible for the murder? The person who shoved this individual, this hapless soul, off the top of the building, or the individual in the concomitant structure who shot them on the way down? So I asked this of you, I recall, prior to our conversation, and I refused to give you the answer before we were on air, so I'm interested to see what you all think now that we are live.
And let's start with our guests first. What do you think?
I really like the idea of somebody trying to get in on the murder sentence. No, I mean, I think that they both definitely hold responsibility to it. It was a very impressive aim, but yeah, no, I don't really see that as one person being more morally culpable. The first person committed murder and the second person just decided to get in on it, essentially. I don't see either of them as really getting out of it, just one person getting in on the murder.
Well, see, I don't know, because it's complex, because it's like, though they are falling, they are not dead yet. They're about to. Though they have a few more minutes or seconds, but
the death was going to happen regardless.
That's
This
true.
person is going to die because of the first person. It's just one other person decided to get in on that killing.
Yeah.
But regardless of if that person was going to be shot, the person they pushed was going to die. And if they weren't going to get shot, the person that they pushed was still going to die.
Yeah.
No matter what, this person is going to die because of the initial push.
Yeah.
Just something got in the way.
Yeah. So I guess my view on it is pushing someone off of a building is probably the first problem and the origin of why this is now a problem. Now, shooting someone is just taking advantage of the opportunity presented in front of you, which I am not an advocate of. But they are still taking advantage of the fact, oh, here's my chance. I might not even get in trouble. And, well, that's messed up, but at the same time, a choice was made. So I think the person pushing someone off of a building is the one who is wrong, and the other person is trying to make the most for themselves out of the situation. So I think they're both wrong, but just don't push people off of buildings, and we wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with.
But the question isn't if they're wrong, it's who was responsible for their death.
Okay.
And I think it's such a hard question just because, like, they were going to die anyway, but then, like, they were killed in the middle of the air as well. So specifically, I guess I would say the person that shot them in the middle of the air was responsible for their death, but I guess he would never be in that position to shoot them if he was never off the building, you know? Or possibly he might have been, he might have killed them down the line if he wasn't pushed off the building, if he already had the intent to, like, hey, I'm fine with killing this person, you know? I don't know. It can get deeper and deeper. What do you think?
Well, I think that Marissa is actually the closest to the kind of legal point of view on this front. So what Brinden is really articulating is this idea of causation. You know, is it the proximate cause of their death or the ultimate cause? Meaning, was it the person who caused the injury right at that moment, or was the ultimate cause the person pushing them off the building? But what the law basically says is that it's the person who delivered the killing blow. That's the person who's responsible for murder. So it's the person across in the other building that actually shot and killed this person on the way down that would be responsible for murder. That doesn't mean that the person on the top of the building gets away scot-free. They would get responsible something else, some lower degree of sentence. It probably would be attempt to commit murder. They attempted to kill this person. They shoved them off the building with the intent, as Marissa said, to cause that harm, but they actually didn't commit the crime. The crime was committed, you know, it was realized when that person was shot on the way down. So it's a really curious thought.
I'm starting to realize I don't think I'm the most ethical person. And so the rest of this episode is going to be really interesting because I don't know how ethical I am, but I'm glad there's ethical people at the table.
Well,
Come back next week to see who's hosting then.
But again, you know, it's about what does the law say versus what does your heart tell you. And in your heart, it might tell you that both of these people are equally culpable, but that's not the way that the law really understands or reasons through the situation.
Because what's in your heart?
I mean, I find them both to be deplorable,
Yeah.
of course, and I think that they are both equally horrid for their actions, and yet it's true that the law can't hold people responsible for something that they imagined would happen. It's very hard to concretize that. What does that mean in practice? So,
I feel like I lead with my heart, and that's kind of makes me not. I don't think I would be that suitable as being an attorney because I would get so emotional, which is why I'm an actor, because in theater, you know, your emotions and how you feel kind of can channel into your character. But when it comes to an ethical standpoint, it's all about logic and seeing it from a subjective point of view. Does that make sense?
Well, there are objective rules for evaluating these things.
Okay.
I'll tell you that I can give you another quick example for this too, which goes to show the holes in the law too. So this again is a hypothetical construct, but you could imagine it happening. And the story is, imagine a group of miners who are underground. They get cut off from above ground due to some kind of avalanche. It's dark, they can barely see each other, and as time goes on, they begin to get more and more desperate and finally decide through a straw process that they're going to kill one of them and perhaps become cannibals until they are rescued. It's a pretty horrible scenario. Well, imagine that they decide that they're going to do this and they settle on killing an individual and the lights are really dim and so they all attack this person. Well, who delivered the killing blow, right? Are they all responsible for murder? Under this legal principle, what would be then the answer?
You'd have to punish all of them.
Would you?
I mean, it seems like at that point, the nuances of exactly who did either, say, the legal final killing blow or whatever, that is going to be impossible to determine. But if it was a group act with the intention of everybody going to kill this one person, then I personally wouldn't see it as any one individual being the murderer, but they all are the murderer.
I guess it's intention.
Because you all agreed to do it, so therefore you all agreed and committed that this was going to be a choice that you were all consenting to.
Very good, right? So the answer to this one is indeed yes, because it's a conspiracy. And now it's a conspiracy to commit murder, and once you have that agreement in place, you're all set. The challenge would be if a couple of those miners refuse to go along with the plan, right? And then you get into these real questions about, well, who's part of the conspiracy and who isn't, and so on.
I feel like the one who decided to not go along with the plan would probably be the second miner killed.
Wow.
There you go.
So I'd like to present the classic train incident ethic question. Excuse me. So essentially what it's about is that there's a train coming and you're next to a switch that can change the course of the train. On one of the tracks you have your relative, and on the other track you have 4 construction workers. And if you don't change the course of the train, it'll just hit your relative. You have the power to change where it goes. What do you do? Personally, for me, I don't know. It depends on the relative. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, if it's somebody that's already old, if it's somebody that I don't really care for, I'm gonna save 4 lives over 1. But if it's my mom, I'm gonna just have to. Y'all just gonna have to take the L. You signed up for the construction job. You know what you signed up for. I'm sorry, I'm just honest.
I feel like the answer that is sort of built in that you're almost expected to give is to save the 4 people. And I completely get getting your emotions involved in that. Yeah, it's your mother, your sister, or whatever. And I feel like that's the very human answer. The way I look at it is, of course, the one relative is going to mean a lot to me. But there's dozens and dozens of people who those 4 people mean a lot to who I've never met.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, of course, it would break my heart to lose this person, but I'm breaking way more hearts that I've never touched if I save my one person to then throw those 4 lives away. So I feel like it is my ethical duty to basically do nothing, which is gonna be rough, but.
But don't you think it was like they signed up for the job? Like,
well, I'm assuming they didn't sign up to get tied down.
They didn't sign up to
tracks.
get killed, but like a mine worker knows that that's dangerous. You know, you have different jobs that they know it's dangerous. You're sitting here working on train tracks with the possibility that a train is coming. If you get hit, you get hit.
Well, the way I understood was, isn't it usually like somebody's bound to the train tracks?
Oftentimes.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. So these 5 people total had no choice in it, and they're just placed into this situation? Okay, yeah, the way I'd see it is it's just 4 lives versus 1, and it's hard to emotionally divorce yourself from it, but you're causing a lot more death by pulling that thing, when essentially you would have had nothing to do with the death in the first place, because the idea is that if you don't pull the rail, then you had nothing to do with it. It comes through and hits the one person, correct?
Well, how do you feel?
Yeah, totally.
I'm torn. Okay, so I'm thinking like, personally, I think you do have to emotionally divorce yourself from the situation and see it in a way of like, the hearts. How many hearts will you be breaking? And I love how you brought that up, because I think that's where I would come and approach it from, is like, that is 4 people and you don't know who they are. You don't know what position they are in life and what they need to live for. But see, it depends on the family member again, because it's like, if that's that one person that I'm like, ooh, you know, every time you come out to the cookouts or the family functions, you be getting on my nerves, I'm going to miss you. But see, that's hard, because now that means I'm not saying I would ever hurt that family member. I love that family member. That's my family. That's my blood. But at the same time, I don't know what happened. The train just kept moving, and I tried to stop it, and it was stuck, and I tried to move the lever. And so I just feel like no matter what position you're in, it's kind of hard to feel innocent in the situation.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to have to feel guilt. So if you're going to have to feel guilt, think about it from one of them might have a newborn. And, like, do you want to take this parent away from their newborn? And me, that's my cousin who stole $5 from me yesterday. So it's like payback. No, it's not what I'm saying. It's hard for me to see this in the right way, because I think the situation is so divided.
Well, for me, it just comes down to, say it's not my relative, but it's me on the track. I may think that I'm cool or whatever. I'm not 4 lives worthy.
And
yeah, I don't think
you
have to be a really great person to be worth 4 other lives.
No.
And I don't know that anybody is.
So pick
me. So at that point, yeah, it's
What do
just
you think,
one life for 4.
Dr. Lebo?
So to arc back to our first example, remember it's all about the action taken. So if you, from a legal perspective, pull a lever, you've taken the action to kill those people. If you do nothing, there's no Good Samaritan requirement that you should save this relative, although that might be somewhat dependent on whether it's your child or not. And if it's a minor, that can possibly end up with some legal requirements to act. But if you pull a lever and you kill others, it's just like the gentleman shooting from a building. You've taken an action to commit murder, whereas if you do nothing, it's not actually your act, so you haven't committed murder.
Well, what about your daughter?
I
know
know
that you guys have a family.
What would you do?
What would you do?
At the same time, you're right, because from a Jewish perspective, it sounds very much like what Grant is describing, which is that for every life lost, you lose a world. So Jewishly, this would say that you've lost 4 worlds by allowing 4 people to perish. At the same time, as a father, I absolutely would save my daughter, just the way it is.
Yeah.
What about the 4 other people in their lives?
I understand,
and their experience?
but I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I realize it would mean that I'd have to go away to jail for a very long time, presumably, by killing these other individuals. Although I would hope that if they were tied to the train track, one would get whoever was initially responsible for it. But at the same time, it's my child, you know.
I mean, when you have a kid, there's just chemistry and biology of what keeps our species going forward. Is that want is so deep to preserve your children's life. I can see a lot of people going to that decision.
I think.
Well, this has been a wonderful conversation.
And to close, I really just want to say that it's hard, and I think this raises a bigger question of what is your viewpoint on ethics, like we said in the beginning, and everyone has a different experience. I think some people will be like my family, no questions about it. And there's other people like me who almost feel like I would put myself on the tracks just to help 4 other people live their life. And I don't know what it speaks to that, but something does. And therefore, that's just each person's perspective on ethics. And I hope everyone who's listening to this and everyone out there asks their own questions about what is ethics and continue this dialogue at home. You may not be at the table here, but you are always at the table. So, in closing,
thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Y'all have a good one.
All right. Wow. That was our first episode of We at the Table.
And it was such a wonderful one, too. I hope as viewers, y'all enjoyed that and have more to think about, talk to your friends and your family with.
I know. I mean, to think about it, I mean, we had Tower 80 come, and they were such a great vibe. I love them.
Always a great vibe. They were actually at our Paint and Sip, if you're a viewer that came to that a couple of days ago.
And shameless plug, we are the presidents of Black Arts Network. If
Yes.
you want to know more about our organization, this is a big part of it. And yeah, and then we had an ethics conversation with Dr. Lebo and Grant, and it made me wonder just how much I know about ethics. So I hope you also have that same question, because I learned something here at the table.
And so every single episode that we have, we hope to have a dynamic conversation. So tune in again with us at We at the Table.
We'll see you soon.